Until man duplicates a blade of grass, nature can laugh at his so-called scientific knowledge. Remedies from chemicals will never stand in favor compared to the products of nature. The living cell of the plant, the final rays of the sun, the mother of all life. Thomas Edison. John Rose, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I love that. Until man duplicates a blade of grass, nature can laugh at his so-called scientific knowledge. Remedies from chemicals. How many times have you heard me tell you guys there are no chemical solutions for lifestyle-related problems? And I find it interesting that Edison died in 1931, about a decade before the chemical revolution, where they really started using that. The Satanists, the people who rule the world, the powers that be, started using that as black magic. But Edison was aware of it already before we started growing our food on artificial fertilizers and spraying with pesticides and genetically modifying our food. It's even mentioned in the Bible. Revelation 18:23. For by sorceries were all nations deceived. They were warning people back then about the sorceries. When you look that up and you find out what it's all about, it's about drugs. It's about magic. Black magic. Things that are used against us. The ultimate tool of control, my friends, is our health, or our lack of health. The world could not exist in the hell we live in now unless we were sick. The powers that be keep us sick. They control what our so-called experts learn, and they become their agents to keep us where we are. That's why they have a responsibility to help us wake up and get out of this nightmare. Because without them, their whole house of cards comes down, just like in feudalism. You get rid of the Praetorian class, you get rid of the knights, none of that could have happened. We're sort of in the same boat, and sort of in a way. Our so-called experts in health right now are sort of like the knights. They're being used against us. They're being duped and tricked, and they don't even know it. Most of our diseases are lifestyle related. Most doctors do not know the cause of disease, and when someone comes up to you guys and says, I know the cause, I have a solution, and you don't want to know more, you're committing treason. You're the biggest impediment we have keeping us where we are, because you're the agents of the powers that be that use poisons to control us, to keep us sick. The ultimate tool of control is our health or lack of health. Everything in our society of any significance has everything to do with our health. Everything revolves around it. Everything revolves around the bad foods we eat. They poison our food, they poison the air, they poison our water. All of our needs have turned into weapon systems by the powers that be. It comes right out of the art of war. How do you conquer a nation? Turns out it's the same way you control the masses, and it's also the same way you end up solving problems. That's a common link. Did a video specifically on that. One of my greatest epiphanies. Common link to solving problems, a common link to controlling the masses and conquering a nation. It all has to do with our needs. It all has to do with our health, our lack of health. Everything in our society of any significance has to do with our health. Without it, it's worthless. And because we don't have our health, we don't have the right mentality. That describes everything on our planet. We got the wrong mentality. And the world could transform if we could change our mentality, and we can't think our way into this. We got to stop making mistakes. We got to own up to the fact that we're making mistakes. And we're in a huge state of denial. And the status quo wants to stay the status quo, whether or not they're organized about it or not. It's just how sick we've become as a species. It's mind-boggling to realize that there's a simple solution to solve such a wide variety of problems, and yet it's such a hard message to get out. But once you find the message, how can you not want to stay on the hero's journey and spread the message? And that's what I do every day. I come out here and I bounce my ideas off of people, hoping I can transform someone's lives. And if I can't transform their lives, I'm going to learn something from that. I'm always out here beta testing people. We're being beta tested all the time, because we're the giant in this whole scenario. And the powers that be know that. That's why the Fabian Society was established in 1884 to usher in a one world government. Because they know the cycles we go through. Watch Satan's secret weapon. I explained the Kyclo cycles, how governments go through cycles, how democracy goes through cycles. And we're being played like a fiddle. And most people just have such a hard time figuring that out. So when you're on the hero's journey, you need to realize you got to customize your message to everybody you talk to. It's best to find out where they're coming from. I like to start off by asking open questions and see if they're talkative. And of course, once I get talking about what I want them to know about, I get really passionate. I know that if you want someone to understand what you're doing, you got to show the right emotion. If you're talking about the most exciting knowledge in the world, you got to let them know, my God, why do you think I'm so excited? This is powerful, powerful stuff. And believe me, I know most people aren't ready for it. I know that the more I talk to a person, it's only a matter of time before I say something that pisses them off. In fact, if you watch enough of my videos, you're going to finally unsubscribe to me. Because I've studied, I got all the pieces of the puzzle. Most of you guys don't, so when you find a piece you don't have, you're going to think I'm the idiot. That I don't know what I'm doing. How do you know I'm not beta testing people? You have no idea what I'm doing. It's funny. I've been doing this for so long, and I'm so passionate about it. I understand when I'm in a situation that's going to be confrontational. And I'm willing to sacrifice myself, knowing it's going to be kind of an unpleasant situation, because I want to learn from it. I want to have as much experience from that as I can, because when you're on the hero's journey and you're telling the truth, you're going to be attacked from all over. You want as much experience with that as you can, so that you can understand how to deal with it. And what's interesting is that one day you'll tell something to somebody and it worked, and the next day you tell it to someone else and it pissed them off. That's just how it works. So, one of the questions I like to ask people when I first meet them, if I can sneak this in somehow, what kind of work you do? It might give me an idea of how intelligent you are or not. It doesn't always mean that. But that's important, because what Aristotle said, the mark of an intelligent mind is the ability to entertain an idea without accepting it. So many people can't do that. So if you can't find out, hey, are you a doctor? First question you should always ask everybody, are you a doctor? Because you don't know the cause of the disease, do you? But I tell it to you, you're going to go, well, I know that. No, you don't. But you've got to find out as much as you can about a person. Now, a lot of people, you already know them, and you already know how to approach them. You know the best things and ways to go about it. And for me, one of the first things I like to find out, and many times just by talking about certain subjects, you'll find out if they, for example, believe in the official version of 9/11. Now that's an important question to ask, because when you talk to someone who believes in the official version of 9/11, and then you ask them, well, have you ever entertained the possibility that the official version is wrong? And they say no, then they might not have an intelligent mind. They have so many references, they don't think they need to look at the other version. But that's the problem with reality, is we're fed one version and we accept it, we don't even question it. And if you have an intelligent mind, you'll find out the other version and consider both right and wrong. So you end up with 4 versions. If you don't have 4 versions, you don't have an opinion of your own. You're just a puppet, parroting what someone told you to think. You haven't put any thought into it. You just got so many references, you just throw it back at people. So, do you believe in the official version of 9/11? Or do you put your trust in doctors? That's a good question to ask. You bet my doctor's God. My doctor saved my life. God, how many times have I heard that one? When in fact, if it wasn't for them, they would have never been put in that position to begin with. So if you ask people those 2 questions, and they say yes and yes, and then you ask them, well, have you ever considered the possibility that the official version might not be right, and that doctors might have been duped and tricked and really don't know the cause of disease? And of course, if they say no then you realize, well, I might as well go talk to a rock. The question is now is, do I stay or do I leave? And now the question lies, is there anything you can learn from this experience? Do you want to deal with this confrontation? I don't like to confront people. At certain times, I feel uneasy doing some of the things I do. But I'm passionate about what I do. And I know this is how I learn. This is how I finally figure out a better way to say something. And again, I've done this for so long with some people. I know now I can walk away from a lot of people unless I decide I want to beta test them. And I still do that a lot. I want to see what's it going to take before you have amygdalosis happen to you. That emotional reaction before you have an intelligent reaction. Talked to a real sweet lady the other day. Hi Alice, I hope you're watching my videos. And I could feel her concern, and she's a reader. She said, you always come out here and read books? I just picked up a book at the free library out here, and I was glancing at it the other day, and she saw me. And I said, no, but I do read a lot, and started talking about the book she read. And I could feel the apprehension in her voice. You could hear it and sense it. She was worried. She was concerned about what's going on. And then she went on and on and on, and finally said something. And I said, well, actually, that is true. And then she said, oh, I suppose you mean this too, right? And I go, yes. And she goes, that's it. I can't have no more. And what was interesting about this, my dear Alice, is I told you from the very beginning, you got to watch Satan's secret weapon. They bombarded your brain with so much bullshit that as soon as you get to a certain topic, amygdalosis kicks in. You get this emotional reaction, and you refuse to keep looking. You closed down, didn't you, Alice? I asked you, are you open? You know, you got to consider whether it's true or false, both versions. You only got one version, you still think it's true. You want to look at both versions. You haven't looked at this one, and you want to consider them both true or false. And how do you determine if it's false? It's simple. But you have to know what a con artist does. You have to know what a psychopath does. And you look at the answers, and once you know that, once you compare, everything on both sides, it's all true here, it's all true here, it's all false here, it's all false here. When you do that, you can't say it's false in any way that sounds like a psychopath or a con artist. On the other version, the official version we've been given, con artist, straw man argument. Oh man, it's just unbelievable. But the problem that so many people have when it comes to this, and we know this, and it was pointed out in that great documentary of these 1,500 architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth. They said it boggled their mind how they are the top experts in both these fields, and they were able to prove without any shadow of a doubt that the official version could not have happened. And they said, there's a few possibilities, and we're not going to say which one it is. There's a lot of things that could have been happening that makes more sense than this. Official version doesn't make any sense at all. And they were scratching their head thinking, how can this be? I even did a video on this. I took a 17-minute clip, and I used that as part one of a at least two-part video series. Might have been three. I think only one part. Where I explain how cognitive dissonance works and fear, how that fear works. And it's all about feeling helpless. So most people, when I talk about the other piece of the puzzle that's important in my story, in my channel, the ultimate tool of control, or ultimate tool of control or health, the absolute tool of control, money, and usury. This is the loaning of money at usury. This is where they control us. This is the tool that they use so they can own and control everybody, so they can bombard and trick our experts, our medical doctors. You see that bumblebee flying in front of the camera? And that's how they control everything. When you control what people know, you control what they do. The powers that be have taken over our money supply. This is why it's such an important part of my story, because it's a huge obstacle. They're in a position to own and control everything. Remember, there are no chemical solutions. Remedies from chemicals will never stand in favor, as Edison said. And what do you think of when you think of chemicals? Procter & Gamble? Procter & Gamble? Have you checked out the Thrive documentary? Powerful. Foster Gamble didn't want any part of that family business, all those chemicals, black magic. He spent the last 8 years, or he spent 8 years and spent all his money when he finally produced the Thrive documentary. I'm not sure how long ago that was. And part of the documentary is a waste of time when he starts talking about the Taurus and stuff like that, but when he explains how they investigated 12 major sectors of human endeavor. That's all they did. You know, like the government and the media and the educational systems, the medical system. When they follow the money, it's the same small group of people who are owning, controlling everything. So what happens when you try to tell a doctor that they've been tricked, and you know the cause of the disease, and they have a solution, and they don't want to talk about it, and then they throw the I'm the expert card at you, and they close the door and run away? See what I'm saying? We have to understand, folks, there is a small group of people who have tricked our experts in health, and they've been specially chosen so they won't question authority. This is by design. Read John Taylor Gatto. Read Charlotte Iserbyt's book, The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America. This is by design. Our school systems do not teach critical thinking skills. They only reward the type of people who will end up having a personality. They don't challenge authority. But this is something we have to wake up and realize. If we're going to be on the hero's journey and we really want to reach the tipping point, the people who are our #1 market are the doctors. We need to approach every doctor out there and say, look, man, we know the cause of disease. We've got the solution. If you don't ask me how to do it, you're committing treason. You're the reason why we're in hell. You are the agents of that small group of people who own everything. They tricked you. They brainwashed the hell out of you. And now you won't even look at the truth when someone presents it to you. Shame on you. Arr! Oh, I'm the expert. I'm out of here. Wait a second. I just told you the cause of disease. You're not even going to give me any feedback? How dare you? You have a responsibility to know what I know. How dare you? Man, I tell you, when that happened, when she closed that door on me, it was hard to maintain. Man, my heart was pumping so hard. I get outraged. I feel the emotions I feel. I wasn't gonna. No, she thinks I'm gonna grab her head and rip it off. Oh, you scare me. Yeah, I'm mad that you don't ask me why. You don't ask me anymore. I just told you the cause of disease. And when I asked you about it, you lied to try to keep that door closed. I don't want to talk anymore. No, I just told you a lot of information. I want feedback from you. You owe me feedback. What's wrong with you? Oh, I'm functional medicine. I know what you already told you. I know what you guys do. You don't understand what precedes the cause. Now, I know you guys are a whole lot better. You're not using the chemo and the radiation. I understand that. I understand that you have good tests like the Greek test. I understand all of that. In fact, I'm working with a person right now who I just was telling about GCMAF, and she found a place close to her who practices nutritional medicine. And they provide that service. They provide the Greek test. That's good stuff. I understand. It's a lot better than allopathic, what all the other guys are doing when they're cut, burning, and poison. But it's still delusional. It doesn't get us out of this hell we're in because it doesn't address the first cause. And I've said 1,000 times, if you don't understand the raw food, cooked food connection or perspective, you're lost. You'll never solve a problem because most of our problems are the result of that very first mistake, cooking of our food. It's that simple. And I know it sounds impossible to be that simple, but you have to realize when you consider things that are profound, the more profound, the more simple. Did I say that right? Probably not. The simpler? See what I'm saying? It is simple. It can't be complicated. Fall of mankind, we did something. Well, what did we do? Well, there's an environment and we interacted with it. We must have did something. We interacted with the environment some way. Did we alter the air? Yeah, we started smoking some marijuana. Or, wait a second. Did we alter the water? Yeah, we started pooping in it. Or how about our food? No. Don't want to go there, buddy. I love my food. It's my drug of choice. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have all my other drugs. Boy, I tell you, it's such an interesting time to live when you realize we're so close to waking up. And again, that's what the powers that be are always doing. They're beta testing us. They're trying to see what they can get away with. And they have this long-term plan. This goes back to the Fabian Society that want to usher in a one-world government. It's hard, I know, folks. It's hard waking up unless you just got the right mindset. And a lot of us don't. I know if somebody I never even heard of before came up to me and said, John, you're making a mistake, buddy. You're not thinking outside the box. Man, I'd be wagging my little butt going, oh, boy, tell me, I want to know. But that's not how most people are they? Who was it? Grant, I believe. He understood that. Made a comment along those lines. That's how I am. Most people have a need to be right. I have a desire to be right. I don't want to be wrong, especially if I'm trying to help people learn information to save their lives. I don't want to tell them the wrong thing. I want to know if I'm wrong. But wait a second, the raw vegan diet doesn't always work. I understand why now. There's a ripple effect. The raw vegan diet only applies to the law of cause and effect, where we have a species-specific diet. But it's no longer ideal because the world's not ideal anymore. We made some mistakes, my friends. Got to correct those mistakes and the effects it had on the environment, what it's done to society, and what it's done to ourselves. Keeping in mind, most of what's happened to us we can reverse. And that's what's exciting about this whole life. Society, we can reverse this very quickly. If we can just finally wake up one profession. Think about it, doctors. Challenge you. Come on, guys. What's it going to take for your profession to wake up and say, look, we admit it. We now know the education they gave us was only good for emergencies, crises, situations. If you're in an accident, act of nature, or if your lifestyle mistake symptom has been going on too long and it's reached at the very end, these guys are qualified. But for everything else you guys are doing, and you have a monopoly on it, it's for an industry that should not exist. We shouldn't be treating symptoms with chemicals. We shouldn't have a treatment peddling industry for lifestyle related problems. It's mind-boggling that it's so hard to wake you guys up. But I understand, I really am sympathetic for doctors. I used to be very critical of you guys in the very beginning until I realized how the world works, and then I realized they just did a good job of tricking you, and now you're doing a good job tricking us. I want you guys to wake up and realize that. You older doctors should know and accept that, look, what have I done? Did I really help that many people? Talked to one guy a while back, he thought he was productive and helped save people's lives. Gave them all those vaccines, right? They're still alive. Only killed a few of them. Folks, if we're going to devote our energy to any one group that can help us reach the tipping point, it's your doctor. We need to reach out to doctors and say, look, man, you can't run away from us. You have a responsibility. You have a monopoly on this industry. It shouldn't even exist. We're telling you. We know the cause. We're telling you. Got a simple solution. And you don't have to believe anybody. All you got to do is test an idea as time has come. See it for yourself and you can see it. Start using it in your practice and you can see it. What do you care about, money? Shame on you. You're supposed to be saving people's lives. And yet you're unwilling to even test an idea as time has come. Kind of scary, isn't it? Oh my God, I spent all this time and money learning this information. Some guy can come along, shirtless guy out in the woods, 10 minutes, tell me everything I need to know and make all my knowledge worthless. Again, I've walked in your shoes. I understand. I know how hard it would be to accept that. But I also know my nature. I'm convinced that if I became a doctor, I would be one of the alternative doctors. I'm convinced I am because that's just how I am. And some of you aren't. It's a shame. I'm not sure what motivates one over the other unless Edgar Casey was on to something. I always appreciated those words of his. Destiny or karma depends upon what the soul does about what it's become aware of. When I discovered this knowledge 28 years ago, I've been on the most exciting journey there is. Been on the hero's journey. I'm gathering data every day. Updating 10 files every day. I'm creating 300 new files every year. I'm always learning. I'm trying my hardest to make a difference on this planet. Trying my hardest to motivate you guys to do the same thing. That's the only thing that's going to work. It's the only way this is going to work. And it can work. Remember, folks, Bill Bright had 14 million people doing a solid food vacation on juices within 1 year by being organized and getting the message out. So when you're on the hero's journey, you share the message. You get out there and you learn through trial and error what works for some people, what doesn't for others. I also learned a long time ago, it's usually best not to say too much too soon with most people. And of course, sometimes you don't have the time. And as I said, I've got to a point now where I know when I'm talking to a rock And now it's just a matter of whether or not I want to try some beta testing. If I've already spent some time with somebody and then I finally realize I'm a rock, I like to quote Winston Churchill. Men occasionally stumble upon the truth, but most pick themselves up and hurry off as if nothing had ever happened. Don't let that happen to you. I said that before and someone said, shouldn't quote Churchill, he's a bad guy. I know he's a bad guy. That's why he knew that, don't you see? He knew that most people won't listen to the truth, that we hurry off as if nothing ever happened. They count on that. But what they don't know is we have interactive cable. We got John Rose out there motivating you guys. And we got you guys out there motivating other people when it finally gets around to these doctors. And they can admit, we've been lied to, we've been tricked, we're sorry, we won't do it anymore. We'll repent. We'll change our ways. We now know the cause of disease. Our bathrooms are backing up. We don't study that. We don't know that. And if you don't believe me, just test an idea as time has come, because you know why? Everyone's in for a treat.